So Fayette County, welcome again to our weekly edition of Drive Time with Mike. We're doing it a little bit different this week. I've asked my campaign team to join me at my dining room table because I truly believe that in Fayette County, just like across the country, most of our decisions are made right here at the dining room table. So it's occurred to me lately, with all the buzzwords in the election right now about transparency and accountability, that I've not been transparent with you. And I want to make sure that you truly know my agenda and my special interest and where I am at on a lot of the issues in the county and things that keep me up at night. So today, in Drive Time with Mike, we're going to talk about transparency and accountability and responsibility and where I sit with all the issues in the county and what you should expect from me if you so choose to elect me for the next seat in the county commission. So let's talk about transparency. So what is Mike Harvey about? Well, when I say that, again, if you look at my platform, we talk about issues around food insecurity. We talk about issues with housing, economic development. A lot of those platform issues come directly from here. And my campaign team laughs at me because I wave this around like a flag a lot of times, a county comp plan. Because it's like the Bible at Sunday school. Nobody actually expects you to read it when it's put out there. But I have been for the last few months. So when you talk about, again, the agenda of the commission, I would ask that you, as Fayette County voters, get online because it's readily available, pull it, and I would like you to turn to pages like 109, we talk about access to food, and pages 134 talks about agritourism. And look at where a lot of the decisions of the county commission make today when it comes to promoting the county, when it comes to tourism and economic development and decisions to make sure they line up. Because as a good friend of mine and part of my campaign team pointed out yesterday, there should be direct lines in their decisions to what they've signed off on this past year when it comes to comp plan. Because there's actually been, we've had a lot of consultants since 1988 coming every 10 years to develop a comp plan. From 88 to 2012, you'll see basically a cut and paste version of the comp plan, addressing the same issues. Infrastructure, economic development, all of which has just been pushed forward to the next county commission that's elected and not addressed. Interesting fun fact, yesterday, my team received a call about issues around access to water. And of all places, Heiko, Saturday Road, 20 families that have been promised for 30 years access to clean water. And they have been recently told that plan to give them final access to water has been suspended. Now again, those areas with water issues, there's a map in here that shows you that same area. So where's my direct line? Because I, as my campaign manager, kids me all the time and laughs at me. I like straight lines with things. So where's my straight line to access the water in Ramsey on Saturday Road? The 20 families. It should be right here. So now, I'm not going to point fingers at the current commission because this has been an issue that's been going on for over 30 years. So I will say that, again, when I decided to run here 2 years ago for this seat, again, I did not expect to be political. I did not expect to have to, myself, start using buzzwords, catchphrases. I've been reminded recently that in order to get to the seat and make the changes I want to make, I have to be. So, let me give you some buzzwords and catchphrases today that I think are important to me. Again, transparency is very important. So I'm going to give you transparency. I'm going to give you accountability. I'm going to give you one more. Meaningful responsibility. So when you make the decision to run for an office, you are literally making a commitment to be a public servant. So in my years working in the corporate world, one of the things that I constantly heard about was being a servant leader, which means that, again, to run for that seat up there, you should have certain expectations of me. So I'm going to make sure I lay those out today and let you know what my special interests are for Fayette County and where my heart is. So let's start with some of the issues that have been popping up all over Fayette County of recent weeks. Let's talk about the first responders in our county. Our sheriff's department, our fire departments. Again, you can find mentions of that in the comp plan on page 109 4, and again, I can't read my own writing, so apologize if it's 104 or 109, but it's in the comp plan. But making sure they had adequate resources, make sure that the citizens of Fayette County had fire response times within 20 minutes, making sure that, again, our Sheriff's Department was able to reach these outlying communities that do not have the resources to allocate for their own municipal law enforcement, like Meadowbridge, like PACS. So, again, these are things that have already been addressed in the comp plan, recommendations made around it. So, I think that, again, my first responders, you have my support. You know, I had the opportunity the other night to talk to a fireman's wife online who was concerned about the fact her husband routinely walked into a fire and his tanks would go empty. But yet we're having conversations about what is needed for these fire departments and whether or not it's actually needs or wants. You know what? We also eliminated a fire coordinator's position in recent months that I would argue is necessary because you have over 400 volunteer. Let me reemphasize that word. Another keyword, buzzword you need to remember. Voters, volunteer firemen. They're not being told that, you know what, in addition to the responsibilities that they've assumed meaningful responsibility to protect you and your homes and your businesses from fire. They've took on meaningful responsibility to run into a burning house in the middle of the night in below freezing temperatures to make sure that you and your property are maintained. Now, tell the wife of that firefighter that making sure that equipment is safe and ready to be used, but her husband straps on 200 pounds of equipment to run to that fire is a want and not a need. Explain that to her. So, firemen, you have my support. One of the things I would commit to today, so you know my interest, is that if I'm elected to that seat at the commission, one of the first things I'll be asking for is their replacement is to be found for that fire coordinator's position and to be reinstated. So that's the first thing I would tell you that I'd be asking for. So is that a special interest for Mike Harvey? Yes. There you go. Fireman, you have my support. And if you have questions about this, fireman, my phone number is 304-222-6297. My address is 115 Dunmond Avenue. Feel free to stop in or call me. I'm happy to sit down with you and talk about it. That goes for our deputies. They're out there every day risking their lives, trying to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, patrol one of the largest county in the state. Knowing that, again, they may get called to Meadowbridge in the middle of the night or PACS when I call. And then if you've been paying attention to our drive times of recent weeks, you'll know that we've been finding that there's been a lot of crime committed in these remote areas, and the response times are delayed because there's just not enough resources out there for our deputies, there are our fire departments, for that matter, to make sure that those call times that are even mentioned here in this comp plan are there. So, again, meaningful responsibility has been assumed by these first responders. Let's make sure we have adequate resources in place. Because yes, I'm a Republican. Because that's brought up to me constantly. Mike, you're a Republican. What about fiscal conservatism? You know what? Fiscal conservatism requires not that you reduce taxes, but you ensure that the taxes that are collected are allocated appropriately and that they're used where they should be used to ensure that things like first responders are well funded, to ensure that things like libraries, which are the cornerstone of our communities, which again is mentioned right here in this comp plan, not to be reduced funding, but actually expanded, because they're mentioned as a cornerstone to our communities. So, again, making sure that those things are addressed, that they are supported, and they are well funded. You know, we talk about our youth. Let's talk about words that have been brought to us as we circle the county, meeting with citizens, community leaders, and again, civic leaders. Our youth constantly are brought up. Mike, there's nothing for them to do. So, again, when I've mentioned in the campaign video earlier in the year that, again, a strong economy strengthens our social bonds. That's not just a catchphrase. It's actually a reality. When we build up these communities, we have a moral responsibility as county government. Because I also said in my campaign video that if we govern, the closer to home we govern, the better the outcome. That's true. I will tell you that I've had the opportunity to talk to some of the city councils here in the last 6 months. I actually dropped in unannounced just to sit in and listen to council meeting in PAX here a couple weeks ago, just because I was curious. What impressed me the most was about that meeting was the fact they talked about, again, what they want to do in their community. They talked about civic pride, fairs they were going to have over the next year. How we're going to pay for it, they didn't know, but they were going to make sure it happened. Talk about how they were going to reallocate funds to make sure that they had food present for children and families that were there. Make sure they had prizes that they give out. They didn't know how they were going to pay for it yet, but they knew they were going to do it. So when I had the opportunity here a couple months ago to meet with the town council of PAX, Meadow Bridge, the one thing I sensed with them was pride in their community. And when you drive through Meadow Bridge, it's not the Meadow Bridge I used to sneak off to in my van in 1985 out on the drive. It's a shadow of its former self. But the pride that was there when I would visit that as a child or a teenager, Mom, don't ground me, I'm too old to be grounded for sneaking off. But, because my mom watches these videos, and she will ground me, or at least attempt to. But, again, Meadow Bridge has pride in the community. So when they're asking for support out there, I'm telling you it's a moral imperative for this commission not to ask them to come to them and chastise them because you didn't ask for this. Again, the role of county government is to seek out those opportunities to make these communities more resilient and sustainable for the future. So, here's my coverage special interest, my agenda. I want to make change today that you're not going to see tomorrow in Fayette County. You're going to see in 30 years for your children. My children have already left. My daughter lives in Huntington now because you know what? Fayette County was an option for her when she graduated from college and grad school because there wasn't opportunities here for her. There should be opportunities here for your children. Let's make change today that your children and your grandchildren will see in 30 years so that Meadow Bridge, 30 years from now, looks entirely different. So PAX is entirely different. It's up to you, Fayette County. I'm willing to be the nail. You need to be the hammer, voters. Hold me accountable to the promises I make today. Hold the current commission and the future commissions to the decisions we're making now. Let's not be looking back like we're doing now in 88 in comp plan saying, you know what? Water's needed in Ramsey. And they look back 10 years from now, and it's not done. Let's hold ourselves accountable. Hold me accountable, voters. And I'm sure I'm breaking the algorithm with Facebook, so we're going to drop this video. That's my campaign team makes it available on Instagram and YouTube. I will also be putting things in print. I'll be asking my campaign manager to send out to media outlets, papers, over the next few days so that you can see that in writing. And again, if you didn't catch my number, address, you now have them. Feel free to reach out to me personally. I will answer your questions. 56 days to the primary. Get out and vote. Thank you, Fayette County.